Hey, English 11, it is Monday, April 27th. I hope you had a good weekend. I hope that you are ready for this week. I know we're still processing quite a bit because of the announcement that the governor made last week. But just know that we're going to continue just doing things the way we're doing it and finding ways to make this go as smoothly as possible for you. All right, this is certainly not what any of us wanted, but it's important that we also stay safe. So, more to come as everything progresses, but for today, let's just keep doing English, all right? All right. So we are starting the next unit today. This is the Modernism unit. It's going to be really short. It's only going to be a week long. This is going to be one of the last reading units that we do because we're going to start the research papers next week. And break that research paper down into teeny tiny little steps that you can learn and complete, and you're going to be masters of the research process by the end of this class, even at a distance. All right, so a lot of what I'm going to go through today includes videos that you can watch on your own time. I recommend it. I think they're really good videos and they're helpful to get context of what was going on in history, but I'm going to just go over the note-taking. So you are taking notes on these traits, themes, values, whatever you want to call them, of modernism. I did attach another organizer to Google Classroom if you want to use that. Otherwise, use your own note-taking strategy, but I'll point out what's really important for you to have down for the short test that will be on Friday. All right, let's go through these. So, They Shall Not Grow Old is a documentary that came out that I shockingly still haven't seen. I haven't found anywhere I could stream it. If you find it to stream, please tell me because I want to see this so bad. But the director of the Lord of the Rings movies took old footage from World War I and put it into color and put sound behind it and did voiceovers. It's really beautiful. This is the trailer for that. And then this video shows how Peter Jackson actually did it. It's so cool. It makes me want to be a sound engineer. Maybe it'll introduce you to your next career dream because this seems like the coolest job of all time. All right. Modernism is our new unit. Modernism falls after World War I in 1914, or when World War I was happening, to 1939, the beginning of World War II. So it's this gap. And it's really all about redefining the American dream. Major things that were going on during this time, some of the biggest pinnacles of American history happened during this period of time, which really influenced human beings, how they were feeling, and what they were creating. Prohibition was one of those things. The 19th Amendment gave women the right to vote, and therefore they started just making their own choices and feeling empowered, which is where we get flappers. The Great Depression happens between 1929 and 1933. We are experiencing our own economic recession right now. Nowhere near as serious as the Great Depression, but gives you an idea of the type of fear financially people were experiencing and how that impacted families. It impacts everybody differently right now. These are the traits of modernism. So these are what you're going to be taking notes on. All right. So they are numbered, and I believe that there are 5 of them. So first, they wrote in bold writing styles and form to reflect the fragmentation of society. The world kind of felt like it was falling apart. World War I was the war to end all wars. It was completely catastrophic and horrible. And so because that shook up society so much, that shaking up also occurred in the writing and the art that was created. Number 2 kind of goes hand in hand with that, the rejection of traditional themes, subjects, and forms. So again, society doesn't feel traditional anymore. It feels like it's been completely shaken up. So therefore, the themes are too. The number 3 is by far the most important theme trait present in modernist literature, which is the loss of the American dream. Put a star next to it, color it in red, whatever you need to do. This is one of the most important things to remember about modernism. People came back from that war and were completely disillusioned. They did not believe anymore in the American dream and getting what they wanted. They had seen too many horrific things, and so that was gone. 4 is flawed heroes who show grace under pressure, and we're going to talk more about them specifically. And then 5 is stream of consciousness. feel free to pause this video and take down these notes. The slides are also on Classroom. Some writers that popped up during this time. For poetry, we had Robert Frost. He wrote the poem that begins, "Two roads diverged in a yellow wood," and sorry, I could not both. "The Road Not Taken" is the poem. Ernest Hemingway is going to be the author that we dive into this week. We are only going to be looking at texts from Ernest Hemingway. He's one of the most prolific writers of the 20th century and was just really this symbol of modernism and one of the biggest celebrities of all time. He created the Hemingway hero, and our Hemingway hero I'll dive into later, but this is that flawed hero. Scott Fitzgerald, he's the one who coined the term jazz age to describe the 1920s. He wrote The Great Gatsby. We won't be reading that in class anymore because of virtual learning, and getting books is just too tricky. But it's an incredible novel that if you do plan on attending any sort of schooling after high school, it's one of those kind of required reads. It's just expected that you have read that novel. So if you want to set a goal for yourself, I really recommend it. It's also an awesome book. It's filled with crime and prohibition and lots of partying and love. So really great. He kind of created this image of the flappers, which this video is a historical video that shows you what they look like and how modern they were. John Steinbeck wrote Of Mice and Men, which is actually one of my favorite novels of all time. It's the one that I love teaching. Again, we're not going to be reading it, but it's so good with some really incredible characters. He focuses more on how the Great Depression affected the working class and farmers and people who were like not in the cities. So the two big chunks of notes that you're taking today, those modernism traits, really important, and then the Hemingway hero, also really important. These notes you're going to need all week, and you will be able to use them on the test on Friday, so make sure you take good notes. Characteristics of the Hemingway hero: a young male who is physically or emotionally wounded, alienated, or a loner, believes that the world is filled with tragedy and irony, which now you know what irony is. You expect one thing to happen and the opposite does, so it's very pessimistic. Again, these Hemingway heroes were soldiers more often than not, so they just didn't expect anything positive to happen after being in World War I. They're also, most importantly, the Hemingway hero is somebody who's forced into being a hero. They don't choose to be the center of the attention. They don't choose to be this, incredible figure. They don't even see themselves that way. They're just forced into it. Okay. Characteristics continued. They are usually a master of some sort of sport, whether that's fishing, hunting, bullfighting, which I don't know if that's going to pop up in any of the things that we read, but noted. They're a strong soldier, and they believe in traditional male pursuits. So thankfully, our gender identity and stereotypes that go along with gender are becoming more fluid, which is how they should be. But traditional male pursuits being like back in the day, what was a man supposed to do? Okay, that's how Ernest Hemingway saw it. He was rugged and traditionalist. And then the ultimate goal was to show grace under pressure. So if they were forced to be a hero, if they were forced to be strong or to be a soldier, they just wanted to do it well and to not fail. All right, which is pretty relatable. So Ernest Hemingway, I think, saw himself as a Hemingway hero. He was a soldier and really wanted to experience everything that he wrote about. The Hemingway hero also goes alongside this iceberg theory, this idea that actions speak louder than words. So Hemingway heroes aren't necessarily the most likable people, but their actions are really incredible. So they do things that are really good, even if maybe on the surface they don't seem, heroic. So the Hemingway hero is still something that's super contemporary. Honestly, I think Hemingway heroes are more interesting than like our perfect guy or our perfect hero, because we're all flawed. So it's much more interesting to watch somebody with a character arc who changes and grows. And that's what the Hemingway hero is. So examples of Hemingway heroes are in these images. One of my favorite Hemingway heroes of all time is this guy, Bruce Willis's character in Die Hard, John McClane. I had to look up his name. John McClane. If you haven't seen Die Hard, classic. It's so good. Something you can watch over break, or not break, over quarantine. Excuse me. But he's the epitome of the Hemingway hero. Shrek is another great example of a Hemingway hero. Layers, like the iceberg theory. Think of it like the iceberg theory is like an onion. You have to peel things back to see the truth. All right. Last thing I have on here for you is a biography for Ernest Hemingway, our author for the week. If you're curious, he had an extraordinary, crazy life. And maybe I'm not going to add it to this video, but I've got a funny story about him as well. So there is a Google form with a short question for you to answer today that will go into the gradebook because it's important that you understand these concepts. But it's short and sweet, shouldn't be too tricky. Email your teacher with questions or jump into office hours. That's it. Have a good day. Happy Monday.